think we're really kind of like self-absorbed in the animal kingdom to where like if we understood more of the subtle nature of other animal cultures, we would maybe be less impressed with our.
Like it kills me when people say we're like the apex predator. Have you met a polar bear?
Yeah, no.
Like, have you met a grizzly bear?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're not. You're not the top. You know, they will fuck us up and kill us like instantly, right?
Yeah, I think our big thing was we learned to use our environment. Like if none of the other species really learn
Environment tools, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, can you imagine if a fucking mountain lion learned how to fucking like shoot a gun? We'd be fucked.
Yeah, no contest. But I think at the same time, it's like once you get there, like I think we all think like these impulses because we're trained off of like our impulses to fight in the resource wars or whatever. But I think there's a certain level of intelligence that is just like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? And we're also like living in the aftermath of like the colonization wars. So it's like I think that we'll get to a point where this sort of thing dies down for us. I think we'll get bored with it. I think there'll be enough repetitions of history, right? We'll have maybe the war with China or something like that, or we won't, and they'll just do their own thing. I think but we'll get bored with doing conflicts this way because there's just so much of an advantage for trade.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what kills me. Like when people say, "Oh, life sucks," is the worst time ever. Have you heard the Black Plague?
Yeah.
Have you heard like World War One, where like millions of people dying in fucking trenches? Like so many people, like 100 people in trenches, like 50 people, like just randomly dead corpse right there. I mean, like medieval, like I mean, so much human history is fucking based on fucking suffering and like wars and fucked up shit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, I don't know, it's not perfect, of course, but it's like, you don't know. I don't live in like fucking 1521.
Well, the other thing too is like we live in one of the most fortunate like ports of human history because it's like we've even like kind of abandoned history. Like people aren't looking backwards anymore for things that can help them be successful. Everybody is eyes forward into the future because for the last 30 to 40 years, you could even say 50 years, we've had the continuous expectation of progress. Like you can even go back to World War II, the end of World War II. Since then, the continuous expectation of forward progress. And so when we stub our toe, it feels like someone has just shot us in the face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, but that's just the human experience. That's why you can't compare suffering because this is the worst we've ever had.
Have you seen the meme? It was on some social media, like a baby boomer, something happened, and like blew it off, generations blew it off. And I couldn't. I think it's Generation A. Oh, my pussy hurts.
Right.
Like what past generations did is no big deal. Now, like, oh my God, I stubbed my toe, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah, it's like that, right? I mean, I think that it's weird. Everybody just got to live their own kind of adventure in life. But I think that something that really deepens and adds meaning to the human experience is like suffering in that way. So I think it's good that occasionally people stub their toe.
And one thing too is like, I think like every generation from the beginning of time, like I'm Generation X. I'll say my baby boomers behind me, they fucking destroyed everything. The millennials, the fucking lazy as fuck, right? Every generation, your generation is fucking perfect. The one before you destroyed the earth, the one behind you, like you're lazy as fuck, right? I remember I took a history class, right, way back in the day. The class was like history, like America 1492, and it was like the Parisians came and they're like, "Oh my God, our kids are so soft. We crossed the Atlantic Ocean to come here. Now all the kids have to do fucking this, how to farm the land.
Right.
They're fucking little bitches, right?
Right.
It's like every generation does that, right?
Yeah, it's unavoidable. I think because it's kind of a sign of progress of the previous generation. It's just like they made it so easy, as well they should, right?
And the thing is, like, shouldn't you want your kids to have easier? Like, what's the paradoxical thing? Like, you want your kids to have easier than you, then again, you want them to go through your same struggle.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily that you want them to go through the same struggle. It's you want them to share your values.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Yeah,
the way to instill those
yeah,
values.
yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
And I think that like we're probably in a better position. I give boomers a lot of crap because it's like a lot of them do like have narcissistic tendencies. But it's
so this is kind of fucked up. I say about boomers, no generation has given more and done less with it.
I'll give it because there's no reason on this planet where I should be starting one of the first Black founder and funder groups in Seattle, Washington in 2023. We got started because it's like how much time was so what we got the Tech Alliance was there in the 90s, right? I want to say like 90s.
Boomers had like fucking like 2% interest rate, like buy a home for 20,000.
Yeah, but they ran around and like did the drug wars and like everybody wanted to. I don't know. Like,
But again, they had Led Zeppelin, you know.
No, they did throw some cultural achievements down, and I mean,
They did go to the moon,
went to the moon, created the semiconductor industry. They did so many different.
Every generation has pluses and minuses.
Yeah, and I think also, there's the trauma that they're dealing with,
Oh, yeah.
right? And like, so, the boomers had to deal with the culture wars where it's like, short hair, we'll kill you, whatever the thing was, irrational fears of the older generation. I was talking to a guy who was the youngest of a few brothers that were all older than him in the 60s, like during the Summer of Love and things, and he was saying, humanity was as crazy it is today, right? But we just kept it more buttoned up and people didn't talk about it. That's how they dealt with it. So like the principal would climb naked up the flagpole, but then tomorrow he would wear a suit and we would all just agree not to talk about Principal McKinley. It was crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we're just living in a more kind of open society of that. And I think that, the people that had to contend with the irrational fears of those days, like I was watching a really cool interview where they were talking about why do people have such an abnormal reaction to males with long hair? This was in the 60s, right, when all that stuff was going on. And they're like, well, all these different people on the street, it was like a gonzo journalism thing. They were like, well, because when we're kids, like our mom takes us to the barber and we all have to get haircuts. And it's like, Tommy, you have to get your haircut, all this kind of stuff. But they get to be special, right? They get to, so there's this like policing norms kind of aspect to it, but it's like, there's all these, so you're dealing with all these people contending with the friction of all those norms and all their parents that, had just fought this crazy war against these, insane eugenicists and all this sort of stuff, and the sorts of things they had to do with, modern machine guns and napalm and all this